Thought I'd do a tabletop review. I've been doing tabletops on a bunch of my Bark River knives and a bunch of my knives in general. You've seen this knife before. It's one of my Bravo 1 lights. Of course, all of them's in 3V that I have. This one's one of my Macassar Ebony ones, the Rampless. I just got it here. I was just stropping on it a little bit. But it's a comparison with what I'm doing the tabletop on. What I'm doing the tabletop on is the Gunny Sidekick. Now my Gunny Sidekicks are both this same thing here. They're both exactly the same. So they got desert ironwood handles, black liners, 3V steel, brass pins. And of course I've got two of them. Now, you've seen this sheath here that I like with that knife. I like that sheath pretty good. It's really versatile. Well, these came in this pouch sheath that they don't hardly go down in there too far. And that's really convenient when you're just pulling the knife out of your sheath and back and forth and just cutting. But there's no retention. I've not done any kind of wet forming or anything, but you can see that knife only goes down in there about that far. Inch and a half or whatever. So I'm not a big fan of that sheath. I mean, it looks good and it carries around on your belt real easy, but just nothing holding it in there and really not much retention. But here's my two knives, so I'll go over them. So I'd started getting these first, these Bravo lights, and they seem just about right, but I was watching some videos by YouTube channel Apostle P, and I believe the man's name's Rob Bixby. He's up in Indiana or somewhere, and he designed this knife in collaboration, I think, with Bark River. I don't know how much input they had in making the design. I think he mostly kind of drawed it out and made it, but they got together and went with a gunny handle, Bark River gunny handle, and put this clip point blade on it. It's a little longer than the regular gunny, but the blade is thinner than the regular ones. This blade's 140. This blade here is 156, which is the Bravo light, but the regular gunny is 156 from what I remember. Now I don't own a regular gunny, or I'd have it on here. So this is a little bit slicier, a little bit thinner. I just thought that looked like it'd be a good knife, a little bit smaller package, just for carrying around and doing with. These two knives here, overall the fit and finish is good. Everything meets up down here pretty good, like the way I like it, right in that area on both of them. The way it was designed was to have a really big sharpening notch right there. You can see how much bigger it is than this one. The regular gunny would have something about like that. This is bigger. Not a whole lot bigger, but when you're comparing them, you can see this one's a little bit bigger by design. These handles that I got on here, they're fairly thick. I like that because it fits my hand good. And they're finished out really nice. Of course, with Bark River, you know, if I ordered a couple of more of these, they could have little bitty thin handles or whatever. You don't know till you order them. Just whoever's doing them. But whoever did these made good thick handles. Everything marrying up real good right there. But the only problem with them is that plunger grinds are not even. Now, what I mean, grind heights on both sides pretty close to even, and this wedge is done really well. But if I can hold that up there enough to see it, you can see right there where the grind is. One side's good and square, and the other one just slopes off. Both of the knives is like that. It seemed like maybe the same person ground them. This one right here don't slope as much, but they just flat out ain't even. In other words, one of them's further back. The edge seems to be pretty much in the middle. That's not the problem, but like that part right there is not square, and I like stuff like that to be square on my knives. So other than that, that's really good fit and finish. No problem with that. So I just thought that would be a good knife to get. Maybe it would be even better than this size because it'd be a little more compact. But now that I've got them and I've used them, I really like these knives because they're slicey. But I still like this better. This handle is a little bit short for my liking. If I go back on the knife like that, and I might have said this in a different video about knife handles, you can see that's not as long as my hand. I have nothing sticking out there, and that's sharp right there. It's sharp right across that. It's not rounded like some handles. So when I'm using the knife like that, that's hitting my hand, whereas on the bigger handle, I just have a little more and it comes back here, and that's still got the squared off end a little bit, but it just comes on back a little more, and I like that a little bit better than these. So I know that's a little bit more compact of a knife, but not much. When you put them down together, I don't think you're even getting a whole inch difference. So I'd still choose this if I was just buying one. I think that's the better knife right there, the Bravo Light over the Gunny Sidekick. But I wanted to show my Gunny Sidekicks and kind of just have this for comparison. And then for comparison of one other thing is blade thickness. This knife that you've been seeing a lot of here, long knife, big old handle on that, it's actually thinner than this one. I don't think you're going to be able to tell, but this is an 1/8 inch thick blade, 125. So that's a really slicey blade compared to even that one. And this handle here, see, it don't have any sharp edges right there. It's plenty big enough for my hands never getting back in there, but I was just showing a comparison. Now this knife, you know, my hand gets back in there when I'm holding it like that, and that's not as comfortable, and my little finger's actually hitting the sharp point down there. Whereas a knife that's more rounded off, it's got plenty to lock you in, but it's more rounded off, it's a lot more comfortable. And this one here too, is just big enough, not really rounded back here, but it's big enough so it's a lot more comfortable. And of course you could take and round this off with some really fine paper and redo that handle and round it off if you wanted to, but so far I haven't done anything like that to them. I just left them the way they was. So there you have it. Overall, really good knives, but I wouldn't choose this over the Bravo One Light.